Hello and welcome back to the Masonic Roundtable, a weekly program where Masons from around the world get together to talk about Masonic news and opinions in a friendly and social manner. The standard disclaimer applies. The thoughts and the opinions expressed are solely the opinions of the participants and do not represent any Grand Lodge statements or positions. Make sure you keep your conversations open for the public and on the level. To interact with us, you can send questions and comments to our Twitter page at Mason Roundtable, or on the Facebook event page for episode 214, the Royal Order of Scotland, or alongside this YouTube chat. If you're watching us live, you can go over to the YouTube page, type your little comments, and interact with us live. So we look forward to seeing that. You know me. My name is John Ruark. I am a past master of the Patriot Lodge number 1957 in Fairfax, Virginia. And we have a full house tonight, starting with Robert Johnson.
Hey, Robert Johnson here, Waukegan Lodge number 78, past master, current sitting secretary, and host of Whence Came You, Masonic podcast. Thanks, John.
Thank you, Robert. Mike the intern, just in time. Welcome, welcome.
Hi, yes, Mike Hambrick here from Village Lodge number 274 and Triandria Lodge number 780, where I am the junior steward and lodge education officer.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Next up, Jason Richards.
Good evening, everybody. Jason Richards here, past master of Acacia Lodge number 16 in Clifton, Virginia, and member of the Colonial Lodge number 1821 in Washington, D.C.
Thank you, Jason. And next up, we have the Juan Sepulveda.
Hello, everybody. Juan Sepulveda here from Orange Blossom Lodge number 80 in sunny Kissimmee, Florida, and the host of the Winding Stairs Freemasonry podcast.
And joining us tonight are not one, but two special guests who are also members of the Royal Order of Scotland. We have, in no particular order, Barry Newell, the current sitting most excellent Grand High Priest of Royal Archmasons in Idaho. So welcome, most excellent.
Well, thank you.
So thank you for joining us. And he certainly is a traveling man coming from an undisclosed hotel at an undisclosed location. And then we have some other guy we found, has been Nick Johnson, occasional seat warmer and annoyed secretary. Welcome, Nick.
Hey, how's it going? It's Nick Johnson. I am as my shirt has said, and John has implied, a has-been of Corinthian Lodge number 67 in Big Time Farmington. I also am the suffering recorder / secretary of the Farmington York Rite Bodies.
Wow. So thank you for all that you do for the craft and appearing on the show in particular. So let's get into Masonic news this week. We have, of course, a little update on a very good book that any up-and-coming officer of every lodge should pick up. One book entitled It's Business Time, Adapting a Corporate Path for Freemasonry, written by yours truly, John T. Ruark and Robert Johnson. And Robert, I believe we have an update as well. Is that correct?
We do. Yep. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here just to show you guys. We have, boom. Went ahead and we have it on the iBooks now. So you guys can check out It's Business Time, Adapting a Corporate Path for Freemasonry. We have it up, and I went through a couple revisions of it because I was getting used to how iBooks publishes, but it says version 1.2. It's no different than the one you got. I just had to update some metadata. But anyway, you can get it here, and if you want a quick URL for that, just go to tinyurl.com/It's Business Time Book. I think that's what I set it up. It's Business Time Book. So if you go to that, that'll take you right to the iTunes bookstore where you can get it. And it'll work on your Mac or on your iOS device. So, yeah, pretty sweet.
By popular request, we did have, hey, when's it going to be on iBooks? You got it. Here it is. So that's exciting. And you've heard Robert and I overemphasize adapting, not adopting, because you don't know how many people we've had that literally are judging a book by its cover that says, we're not a business. Well,
I feel so bad because I don't want to be like, I want to be so nice to everybody all the time, but people are like, just start jumping on me. Like, No, listen, it's really not like that. You'll really like it, trust me. And I think you guys really will. A lot of amazing things in there. We take the tenets of Freemasonry. If anything, maybe it's kind of a two-way street. We almost take the tenets of Freemasonry and inject them into business and vice versa. So the book is kind of doubly awesome.
Really?
But I'm biased, so.
Very cool. Yep. So go check that out. Next up in Masonic news, we do have an upcoming speaking engagement. That's right. If you are anywhere near the Scottish Rite Temple in, wait for it, Covington, Kentucky. Was it not this weekend, but next weekend, Saturday, May 19th? Not one, not two, not three, not four, but all five of the hosts of the Masonic Roundtable will be out there doing a special education evening. Yes, it is the same day as the Scottish Rite reunion, but again, we're right there at the tail end of that. So after
we're the after party.
the after party. I like the way you put that, Jason. So go check that out. Coat and tie preferred. You can get all the information there. I think we have a link on our website under speaking appearances as well. So we look forward to doing that, being there in person, and getting to meet the brothers. It's going to be a great time, great evening. So.
And we're going to be there all day Saturday, or at least around the Covington area. So if you want to hang out and spend some time with us and you're not going to the Scottish Rite reunion, send us an email at theMasonicRoundtable@gmail.com, and we'd love to hang out with you.
Very cool. And last but not least, one thing that came up in the past week, as seen on Brother Chris Hodap's blog, we do have an interesting spin on emojis and state-sponsored propaganda. In the Iranian state-controlled messaging app, which is meant to replace an app popularly known as Telegram, they've created their own app called Soros, Farsi for the angel Gabriel, and by mixing their religion and their state politics together, they took the opportunity to introduce a couple of new emojis, as you can see here, that are very cute, but include angry-looking emojis that say things such as death to America, death to Israel, death to influencers, and
death to
Freemasons.
Yay! Wait
a minute.
Wait, no.
I take that back.
That's a terrible idea. Those kind of look like South Park figures, I'm just going to say.
They do.
It's all you can do is kind of laugh at it because
are they holding rosary beads? Like,
it's some sort of mala bead kind of thing. Yeah. Don't really know because of all of these, the pink one says "Let's pray." So, death to Freemasons. Let's pray. It's an interesting mix of ideologies there. And this is the highest resolution picture I could find off of Chris Hodap's blog. I mean, it's kind of linked to from other sites. But I would love to get this made into a T-shirt or a lapel pin. So you artists out there, you have to
the lapel pin will happen.
It's got to happen.
Dennis Burns will be all over that dish.
Dennis, thank you, buddy.
Yep. Good stuff. Okay, I think that about covers it all. And so let's get into this week's topic, which is the Royal Order of Scotland. Now, this is an invitational only body that I'm going to let Barry or Nick play rock, scissors, paper to duke it out to kind of start things off with a little bit of the history of this order and how it operates today, kind of its mechanical structure, and anything else we'd like to know. So, Barry.
All right. So, as you were saying, John, this is an invitational order. And kind of interesting, as the name would imply, with Scotland. The membership was used to be limited to Scotsmen or those of Scottish descent. But now it is open to those Master Masons who have been in for at least 5 years and who are holders of either the Knights Templar degree or the 32nd degree in the Scottish Rite. You have to be nominated, and usually you have to actually justify nomination to show that you put service into Freemasonry, your church, as well as your community. So often when you get the nomination letter, you have to fill out all the different kind of community services you do. So it's something unique in Freemasonry where they actually look beyond the craft to see what you've done in your community. But so the Grand Lodge or the Royal Order of Scotland is governed by a Grand Lodge headquartered in Edinburgh, and we're supposed to be governed by a Grand Master, who's the hereditary King of Scots. And since Scotland doesn't have a king, that chair is vacant, and the Deputy Grand Master and Governor of the Order presides over us. And it's usually someone from a noble family. So currently it is Sir Archibald Donald or Ewing, the 6th Baronet in Scotland. And the next hierarchical tier in this group is the Provincial Grand Lodge, and it is also the lowest tier. So there is no constituent lodges within this order. And the Provincial Grand Lodge, or the Grand Lodge itself, is the one that confers the degrees upon candidates. And there are currently 2 degrees, the Heirdom of Kilwinning and the Knight of the Rosy Cross. The Heirdom of Kilwinning is supposed to date back to the 12th century during the reign of King David I of Scotland, but it was supposed to have been founded in Judea. The Knight of the Rosy Cross is probably one most people would be familiar with, because it dates back to the Battle of Bannockburn, where the Knights Templar were supposed to have assisted Robert the Bruce in defeating the English. And that's where a lot of the basis of that final degree really comes from. And Nick, if you have to add anything.
I do. And, it's kind of interesting is actually, this degree comes from the same Burgundian family of all the Scottish Rite degrees that we all know and love. So this one also comes from the Jacobite, love of French, everything else. But the interesting thing about these degrees is that they actually are in a rhyming scheme. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, the way in which they're conferred, everybody here speaks in an American accent. So if you say it in a Scottish accent, it rhymes. So, it's beautiful when you read it to yourself, as long as you don't sound like Fat Bastard from Austin Powers. It's fantastic. But, the thing is, at least when I took it, it was done well, just not rhyming. So, but the Grand Lodge of this order actually still holds those French rituals, and they were actually translated into English, into this Scottish rhyming scheme. It's kind of an irregular scheme, so it kind of doesn't fully rhyme like that. But it's a fantastic degree to see just because of that.
So is that the whole degree actually has this meter to it? Is that
it actually? Yeah. It goes on for a long time. You're almost amazed because you imagine that there was a poet, and Scotland is the land of poets, and so I'm imagining Rabbie Burns, somebody like him, writing this up, and it is fantastic. It is just poetry. It really is. It's the only I can think of poetic degree that you will ever see in your life in Freemasonry.
If I remember right, it's actually done the tempo is iambic pentameter.
Oh, good.
It is. Yeah, it is. And it's iambic pentameter with, an AB rhyming scheme. It's very, it's something you've already heard in any kind of grade school ever.
Shakespeare students, right, should catch on real quick.
Exactly.
Yeah, when I went through, I had Ed Fowler as Grand Master, and then as the senior warden for the degree was Brother William Hartman, who most of you should know as the Grand Prelate for the Grand Encampment. He also is a Provincial Grand Officer for the U.S. And those two, they do it actually pretty well. Brother William is a fantastic ritualist, so
Yeah.
I was amazed by the ritual.
Yeah, it's one of those mind-blowing experiences. And as Barry was alluding to, these degrees are conferred very rarely. I mean, very rarely, twice a year. And it's also, in Scotland, there's a number of Grand Lodges. So each province has their own Grand Lodge. In England, each province has their own Grand Lodge of the Royal Order of Scotland. In the United States, there is one single one for our entire country. And there's only about 5,000 members in this. So when you are going to see the degrees, you are hopping on an airplane, flying to a hotel, staying at that hotel to experience this entire degree, and then flying back home. I mean, that's in all of Freemasonry, that's very unheard of. I mean, you have Masonic Week, obviously, but this is not even Masonic Week. This is a single body that people are flying to. When I was taking the degrees, one brother, he had flown in all the way from Houston, Texas to Minneapolis, Minnesota to see this degree, because you only have a single year by which your petition has been accepted by the Grand Lodge to receive those degrees. And after that, it's considered null and void. So you have to be Johnny on the spot.
Yeah, I did mine in Seattle, so I had to fly from Boise to Seattle, which wasn't too bad. But we had people as far as Texas coming up. I was one of 60, and we had our two active candidates was the Grand Master of Washington, and then another gentleman from California who's the Consulate General. I won't say which country, from the Middle East, but he was the candidate for the Rosy Cross. But it was a grand affair. I mean, registration took all morning to get everybody through. I mean, it was definitely up there with Masonic Week for a single body.
Wow.
Yeah, and if I remember correctly, Albert Pike viewed this as almost akin to the 33rd, and it makes sense. I mean, it is highly restrictive to get into this.
It is, and Albert Pike, speaking of the devil, was the one that brought the Royal Order of Scotland to the U.S. and was our first Provincial Grand Master.
Really? That's cool.
Yes.
Yeah.
Everybody focuses on him being Scottish Rite, but the guy did a few more orders here and there. But this is tied with the Scottish Rite, so.
Yeah, and actually, that's the interesting thing about this particular degree set is, so I'm not in the Scottish Rite, and if you ever read the requirements, and I'm sure we'll get into the very controversial part, which is the Trinitarian Christian part, but the first deal is that you have to have been a 32nd degree member of the Scottish Rite. And then it almost creates a caveat, or a Knights Templar, right? It's literally a comma, or a Knights Templar. So, it's presumed that you are a Scottish Rite Mason. And, it's almost an exception to get in based on your Templar.
So would you say this is a York Rite thing, a Scottish Rite thing? I mean, because of those prerequisites, I mean, which body would it fall
I'd say
on?
the Templary thing, which you can find Templar in Scottish Rite as well as the York Rite, obviously.
Yeah, and this one's decidedly Scottish. I mean, it's, when you're dealing with it, I mean, the baronet is the leader of this, even in the one in the United States, he's considered the figurehead of this entire body. So, he's the one in charge, no matter where you are. And, that's, even here, the he's not even the Grand Master here. He's the Deputy Grand Master for the Grand Lodge. Again, because of the hereditary nature of this whole body.
Nick, I have a question. You, of course, alluded now to the Trinitarian component of the Royal Order of Scotland, but of course, you've answered some of the questions by just hinting at it. My question is, I know of brothers who have gone through the York Rite, especially the commandery component of it, even though they are not professed Christians, and they'll have these justifications, ways of thinking about the defense of a religion over another, or perhaps the affiliation with a religion. Is there room for that in this body, or is it strictly you have to believe in Jesus Christ as the Lord and Savior?
Barry, do you want to take that?
So yeah, so this one it does specifically state Trinitarian Christian. So I mean, it is requiring that you do profess a belief.
And JC plays a large part in the whole ritual work. I mean, and not just the ritual work, the whole work in general. I mean, it's almost. I mean, I think on the very
I
front
heard he's
page,
actually seating in the East.
yeah,
Confirmed.
yeah, yep.
Did I?
Well,
Spoiler alert.
you know, the thing is, the Trinitarian nature of Christianity is actually not just alluded to. It is there. You know, you are experiencing that concept of Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, Trinitarian, 3 in 1. I mean, it is there. It's unavoidable to go through it.
But
So
go ahead,
Juan.
That
You're good.
Thank you. Even though the presence of it is there, is there any room for someone who perhaps is not a professed Christian to find some sort of logical gymnastics to jimmy in to, or be or feel comfortable with the degrees? Of course, if you can reveal any.
I would say I mean, because when you get nominated, you go through a screening committee, and each state has a screening chairman representative. And so for the most part, I'm trying to think back because trying to think of the form I filled out, but in there it mentions that you have to profess. So if you weren't a Christian, filling out that form wouldn't be true. I mean, you would be lying to get into the body.
Yeah, and the thing is, if I remember correctly, and this is, I haven't done the petition in 4 years, but I think I was actually asked which church I was affiliated with, and so I put ELCA as mine.
Church of Satan.
It's church. Well, some Missouri Synod people would say that. So we have lady pastors. It's very scary. But
we have those too. They're awesome.
I know. Mine's the best. But and that's the thing. It really is. I think in terms of let's say the Trinitarian nature didn't exist in terms of the requirement, that first stepping stone. Sure, I think people would. I think just like in the Scottish Rite, there's Christian focused degrees. I mean, it's Christian facing. York Rite's the same way, Christian facing degrees that you can experience even as a non-Christian and still get the message, right? The difference is, I think it's very it's an overt expression. It's and I get that, but at the same time, I also understand, we're Freemasons in, a body that's entire purpose, right? At the Anderson's Constitution to bring about this idea of bringing the chains of union together, right? Of men of disparate. That's what he says. So, you've got this aspect of us, and then you've got this other aspect, which is, exploration of Christian themes within a body that was originally Christians only. So it's a dichotomy that we're always, I wrote a blog post a while ago called The Continuum of Freemasonry. And it really does. I mean, we're always playing on this line of how far do we go one way where it's complete agnostic, where God doesn't really need to be here because essentially the purpose of this is to unite us. Then you have on the other hand, this is a Christian-only organization. We need to make it this way because, well, I want to feel in a safe place with other Christians. So, you've got this continuum that we're constantly, and every body is constantly, following and tracking to stay there. So, and this is just yet another one that's on that continuum.
All right, Robert, you had a question.
I did. So within craft masonry, our allegory revolves around the Old Testament, the building of Solomon's Temple, these kind of things. And the Scottish Rite, has various, Lodge of Perfection kind of still deals with that. Then there's, of course, the second building of the temple, which still kind of revolves around that. And then we have Rosy Cross, which kind of dives into more of a Christian element, and the consistory, which goes on to more like chivalric things. And I'm curious, is the Royal Order of Scotland, does it tie into Old Testament stuff, or do you feel like it's probably more on the lines of an appendage of the KT degree, like a chivalric order? I mean, it sounds like it more of a chivalric order as you talked about it, but perhaps you guys could talk about that.
Well, and sure. I don't think it's necessarily an extension of those KT degrees in the way that you would imagine them. Obviously, I've never seen the Scottish Rite degree, so I don't know how closely it ties to the 32nd. But it really does fall in that same genre of chivalric degrees where you're taking a hero's journey. Most of the chivalric degrees that we take are almost always on the same track. I mean, the Master Mason degree is sort of like that, but it never gets completely that far. It ends halfway through the hero's journey. But and this one does the same. I mean, you're essentially following that same path of hero's journey with a very, interestingly enough, it kind of throws you off, a very real presence in front of you to actually see it happening when you're taking the degrees. So, which I cannot talk about, but now you're really interested. Anyway, so, in that case, the Royal Order of Scotland follows the same chivalric concepts of, you're starting off as one thing and then transforming into something new.
So I would say with the 2 degrees, Heirdom of Kilweening has a particular interest in craft masonry. It gives us lots of instruction that's relevant to craft masonry or St. John's masonry. The Rosy Cross degree, again, as I mentioned, is based on the Battle of Bannockburn, and so it goes into that. So you'll see similarities with several degrees within the Scottish Rite, but it goes at it, I would say, from a different angle, because this degree was created to reward those 63 knights that were said to have supported Robert the Bruce in the Battle of Bannockburn. And what I find interesting with this degree, and once a member receives it, is he's actually given a characteristic. So each of the 63 knights had a characteristic, such as, to include brotherly love, relief, truth, and other things, but they expanded this. And each member who gets the degree is given a attribute or characteristic. And I remember mine, and it kind of went with, they pick your characteristic on a little bit on how you fill out your acceptance form. And so mine was administrative, which sounds a little anticlimactic in a characteristic, but they found a characteristic that suited your personality. And I do have one caveat before John gets back on, is I mentioned that the Provincial Grand Lodge is the lowest tier. There are, I would say, clubs that each state usually adopts. So we have Clan Davison in Idaho, and each clan can have its own hierarchy. So mine is presided over by a chieftain, vice chieftain, and then a secretary treasurer. And really, these clans are meant to keep the members together, since we only see these degrees every so often, if we ever see them again. Particularly on the West Coast, it's hard for us to get to the East Coast a lot to see each of the Provincial Grand Lodge meetings. But mine meets, and most meet in January around the Robbie Burns night. So we have the Boise Scottish bagpipers come and play for us. We have haggis. We pipe in the haggis and do the ode to the haggis and everything. But it's a good time to keep all the members within your jurisdiction together.
And it all depends on how organized they are too. So in Minnesota, there is no clan or a clan association. Ours is essentially a dinner twice a year that we have at the local shrine club. But again, as Barry is saying, you see these degrees so rarely that to maintain some level of camaraderie, you have to meet with these other brothers, because the cost of joining this organization is high, very, very high. And so it's one of those that you're only seeing these degrees about. I'd say probably for myself, I'll probably see them half a dozen times in my entire life ever again, and that's being generous. And so you have to create these local traditions and local meetups, just because of you're all a part of this same club. I have the membership card right here, but you just you're not seeing each other all that often.
So, real quick question: Rosy Cross degree, does that refer to the Rosy Cross? Yes or no?
Yes.
Nice, awesome.
So you're saying it's Rosicrucian?
Maybe.
I'll take your silence as a yes.
Which is also an independent body that's invitational, only open to Trinitarian Christians.
Invented by Lutherans too. Just
unless you're an amorc. I mean, then it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's a great mail order study. I guess they still exist, so that's cool. Ooh. But and the other thing is, it's really funny, is I was thinking about, when I was coming on here, I was thinking about that day that I received the degree. And what was really fascinating is I've been to a number of table lodges, like, I don't know, too many. And every time I get a program at a table lodge, this is what I do with it. Throw it away. Why? Because I don't need this stupid thing, right? Or, everything, even like the grand banquets for the York Rite. It's like, oh, great, another stupid piece of paper. It's that Mitch Hedberg joke about, somebody giving you a pamphlet is really just them saying to you, hey, you throw this away. Right? I mean, it's the same kind of deal. But, it's kind of funny. I was looking up all of my Royal Order of Scotland stuff. I literally have every scrap of paper they ever sent me. Every scrap of paper, even this is how ridiculous it is, because you become almost like this weird, this is the coolest thing I've ever joined in my entire life, and I have no idea why I believe that. I mean, I even have an order form. Why? I don't know. I mean, the prices are out of date, yet I still kept it. This is the power and the magic of the Royal Order of Scotland. You get
Next
invited
time
once.
on Masonic Hoarders.
Nailed it.
Pretty close, and like I paid the life membership fee. Just so I could get a hard card. I mean, that's it. This is all I have. I'm going to see the degree 6 times. I paid a life membership, and that is the magic of these degrees, because they are that life-changing. They are amazing. And so if you are fortunate enough to live in a place like I did, where they came to Minneapolis, and they were not that far from my house, if you are fortunate enough to be able to drive there, you better go if you have been invited. I swear to God, I will find you if you do not. Because seriously,
not invited. What happens if I'm not invited and I just kind of show up?
Well, there's a large sword. I'm sure you all have seen the picture of me with that stupid, ridiculous sword. That's what the Tyler carries around with him. So don't know if he'd be able to lift it up to stop you, though. But
And it is an interesting sword. I mean, it's several hundred years old that the Provincial Grand Lodge has the sword that it received from the Grand Lodge of Scotland. So it's just about as tall as I am.
I take it it doesn't have to be sharp to hurt you.
With that much weight, I would say no. No, need to be sharp.
The key is to find somebody that can swing it.
There you go.
All right, here we go. I'll show you exactly how big this sword is. This is how. Oh, where is it? Hold on. Let me grab this out here. You're gonna love this just because it will. You'll sit there and go, God dang, that kid looks ridiculous and young. Gee whiz, not like this old guy here. But see, that's what it looks like. I mean, and it was pretty amazing, that degree. And I mean, we're in a hotel ballroom, and yet I'm still, that smile that's on my face, that is real joy because of just how amazing this degree was. And so, yeah, if you have an opportunity,
big enough, you could hide behind it.
I almost broke my arm just holding that stupid thing up. I mean,
only Jason can hold that sword.
It is my Mjolnir.
You're like the Highlander.
I believe it's called a claymore.
It is. Yep. And the interesting thing, this is a side thing about claymores, but I'm one of the past Grand Commanders of Minnesota is very Scottish, like extremely Scottish. And he explained how claymores are actually used. Everybody thinks that they're Braveheart style, like pick them up, you walk around and you're running around like I don't know. No, you're on top of a parapet, and it's essentially like a spear. So you flip it down, and when you think about it, how those claymores work, you're aiming down and you're hacking back and forth. And so that's what they are. They're almost like the sword version of a pike. And so if you ever are trying to figure out why they're that long, it's because nobody holds them this way. They all hold them this way.
Skyrim taught me so wrong.
Man, and I could swear that Duncan MacLeod used that thing with two hands and just, hacked away.
Nice.
Good stuff. Anything else you guys want to add, or any other questions from the regular hosts before we kind of switch over to social media? Anything else?
So I had a quick one. Since this is kind of like the pinnacle, as it were, since it's, you have to be 32nd or a Knight Templar, so that kind of puts it at a peak on that. What kind of things are we looking for in an invitation?
Who do you have to?
I was going to say they're probably looking not for people to ask for one.
So the gentleman who nominated me, it was active with me in both Scottish Rite and York Rite, and him and I were in the Grand Lines together. So he knew, just from, I guess, our proximity, that he nominated me. And the big thing was that one of the conferrals was going to be in Seattle on the West Coast, so he knew I was going to be close by, and it was relatively inexpensive versus going to the East Coast.
Yeah, similar story with me is that I was serving, almost finished with my second term as Grand Chaplain, and had already been asked to serve as a third term, and I had been active in a number of different appendant bodies. And the nominators are usually the same ones that you'll find in AMD, Knight Masons. Name some appendant body or honorary body, and you'll likely find that person who's going to be on the committee that makes recommendations to the Provincial Grand Lodge.
No nepotism in Freemasonry.
No.
I mean, I'll give you guys Jason and both Jasons and a few others probably recognize the names, but James Winsenreed is the Provincial Grand Master. Andy Lavis is in the Grand Line. Bryce Hildreth is in the line. Bill Miller is in the line. So if you go to Masonic Week, about half the guys that are heads of other bodies are officers in this body. So very close knit group in some instances.
All
Any
right.
other questions?
Sounds good. Jason, do you have anything up on social media tonight? I've been kind of going back and forth between the YouTube chat.
Yeah, no, we've got a lot of really good conversations going on, especially in the YouTube chat. The good thing is, for those of you who weren't able to catch us live on YouTube, you can go back to the video after we're done recording this, and the YouTube chat will still be there, so you can see the conversations that are taking place as the episode's going forward. We don't have a lot specifically on relating to the show topic, however. So I think it might be a little bit of an early night for us.
Really? Except for this one comment from CWH who says, Nick, I thought you were joining Swedish Rite. I thought you were that obsessed.
You know, I was that close. I actually got my plane tickets. I looked for a job in Stockholm because I hear that they have fantastic beaches there, for which they have beach volleyball teams to play there. And so, as somebody who is a great fan of that, I almost went to Sweden to do that as well. No, just kidding. I wish that I could go to Sweden and see the amazingness that is the Swedish Rite. But sadly, the best I can do is what we have here. And the Royal Order of Scotland, it's pretty close to the same thing. I don't know if I can afford the plane tickets to go twice a year.
All right. Good stuff. Good stuff. Well, I think it's about time to start wrapping things back up. As usual, let's go around for shameless plugs and final thoughts. And let's start with Mike the intern.
So, this the Royal Order of Scotland has, drawn my attention a few times before. I've read about it, and I've seen that big piece on their website about Albert Pike, thinking it was awesome. So, I'm looking forward to hearing more about it one day in my own future. So, thanks very much for coming on, Nick, and I appreciate it.
All right. Thank you. Okay, Juan Sepulveda. Give you a second to.
Thank you. Brother Barry and Brother Nick, very good to have you with us. Thank you so much for taking the time tonight to inform us a little bit more about this great organization. And I find it interesting. It's something that I wasn't aware of until Nick talked to us about it a few years back. And you said, like, what, 3 years or something like that? Can't believe 3 years have passed since we had that conversation. But it's good to know that you're in it and that you've had an opportunity to get really involved in a body that has a large sword. I get that's a victory right there. But it was very interesting. There was not much activity on the YouTube channel today. Of course, this is something that not a lot of people are very familiar with. So there are a few questions similar to the ones that we're asking in the panel. But thank you for all the people that have watched. If you have any questions that we didn't cover here tonight, make sure to leave them in the comments, or if you're listening on the Apple iTunes or Google, what is it? Google Play. Stop your car or stop whatever you're doing and send us a message, ask us a question, if it's safe to do so. So that's it for me tonight. Thank you so much, brothers. I invite you to go to freemasonryart.com. I am working on the final details for the Masonic Mystery Box. And if everything goes according to plan, this is going to be the best box that you brothers are going to get. So go to freemasonryart.com and sign up before it's too late. Thank you, brothers.
All right. Thank you, Juan. Let's see. Let's go to Robert Johnson next.
All right. Well, before we get off, I really got to show you guys You remember this? I made this South Park thing with all of us as South Park
That was
characters.
forever ago.
August of 2015. Holy
Yeah, look at that. And we got Nick with a sword. So anyway, let me stop screen sharing there. Awesome episode. I love hearing about rites and different rituals, and I was really interested to hear that this was as old. Did you say the 12th century, Nick, or was that Barry? Who said that?
I said that. Yeah, the Heirdom of Kilwinning is dated back to the 12th century, and the degree of the Rosy Cross is the 14th century.
So that's just like insane to think about how old these rituals are. I mean, they go way, a lot farther back than our 1717 or 1721, whatever. And I just find it fascinating. It was really quite an interesting conversation to hear the different dynamics, how this plays out. I'm a little bit sad to learn that the degree itself or the degrees themselves aren't put on more frequently. And I understand there's an element of exclusivity here, but coming from craft lodges, I feel like we tend to not put on degrees as often, maybe because we don't have enough guys to do it. But it sounds like you guys got 5,000 dudes, so maybe you should charter a bunch of lodges and get everybody in on this amazing sword play. But anyway, thanks so much to Barry and to Nick for coming on the show. It's been too long. I haven't seen you guys in forever, so thank you. I wanted to throw it there for anybody. If you guys do in some forum, whether that's on WCY podcast or let's just put them up on the Masonic Roundtable. So if you guys are on the Masonic Roundtable's Facebook page, do a hashtag. Do hashtag business time book. And then if you can tell John and I why you need the book for the lodge or why the lodge needs the book, we'll pick the winner by next Tuesday, and we'll give them a free copy from the iBooks. We'll give you a code that will allow you to download the book for free. So do that. That'll be fun. And then, for anybody else who wants to try your luck and you don't want to enter the contest, just go check out the book. It's on Amazon. Type It's Business Time. Freemasonry. We're the #1 book in several categories over several different days, actually, when it came to business management, even nonprofits and things like that. So John and I worked really hard. Jason edited our work. It's just because of Jason. Thank you to everybody out there. And if you are reading it and you have read it, leave us a review on Amazon. That helps. And leave a review on iBooks. So other than that, check out Whence Came You, 9:30 Sunday nights. And also, if you are in the Chicagoland area, tomorrow night and Thursday night, we have a 2-night event with Greg Kaminsky, who's coming out. Tickets are $21. He's doing 2 lectures. The first is the Kabbalistic Alchemy of David Heim Smith. And the second one on Thursday night is Celestial Intelligences, the Syncretic and Angelology and Spiritual Ascent of Renaissance philosopher Giovanni Pico de Mirandola, or just Pico as he's known around philosophical circles. And if you're in DC tomorrow, not tomorrow, but Thursday night, I'll be at Manassas chapter. It's going to be a joint stated convocation and Blue Lodge night. So Manassas chapter number 81 and Warren chapter number 5, May 10th. And it looks like dinner is at 6:30 and the chapter opens at 7:30. And I'll be presenting The Lost Word at 8 p.m. It's a stake fundraiser, charging $15. The benefits are for the Grand Chapter Alzheimer's Fund. So appreciate you guys all coming out to the show and watching tonight, and everybody talking. And hopefully I'll see you guys in DC, or maybe you'll come out tomorrow or Thursday and see Greg. So thanks very much.
Very, very cool. Let's see. Let's go to Jason Richards next.
All right. And Robert, shame on you for throwing out a contest for a for a copy of a book, because I've got another one for folks. Because next week we are doing Islam and Freemasonry with Brother Angel Millar, and it's going to be a very, very good show. And we have 2 signed copies of his latest edition of The Crescent and the Compass. And so what I need you guys to do is to send us an email at themasonicroundtable@gmail.com and just reference Angel Millar in your email, and we will comb through those at random, and we'll pick out 2 winners, and we'll get those autographed books to you. This is gonna be awesome. So great show tonight. Thanks so much to Barry and Nick for coming on and teaching us a little bit about a very interesting, very unusual order. So I love learning about all of the little side orders in Masonry, and there are so many things that you can do as part of this craft. It's really interesting and really neat. So looking forward to seeing Robert on Thursday. It'll be a great time, and looking forward to seeing you all next week for our show with Angel Millar.
Nice. Okay, Barry, any final thoughts?
Just thank you guys for having me on. And I guess I'll do a shameless plug of please visit travelingtemplar.com. I am keeping it up to date. And if anyone is in the Phoenix area tomorrow, I'm going to visit the Mesa Yorkite groups. They've invited me to come out and visit them while I'm in the Phoenix area, enjoying the 100+ degrees right now. So, but again, thank you to Nick for reaching out to me, and everybody for tuning in tonight.
Yeah, I can't recommend your blog high enough for any Mason who wants a little bit of research into a variety of Masonic topics. I stumbled across your blog years ago and instantly added it to my RSS feeds. And it's a constant source of well-researched Masonic education. So thank you for keeping that up to date. And I know that you even you went back, you said in the green room, to some of your previous articles about this order, that you did some homework there. So go check that out. Very cool. Nick.
Yeah. So your favorite neighborhood has been. I do write a blog. Well, sometimes. MillennialFreemason.com. I'm a former podcast celebrity. And so, but it was really great to be on here, guys. It's a blast from the past, really fun. And so, first I'll tell a story about Barry, and then I'll say, so he was in town. And by the way, sorry I didn't reach out to you when you were in town again, but I got caught up in Cub Scouts. Anyway, not important. But he had called me up and sent a text saying, hey, by the way, I'm in town. And this is before Uber, so Masonry had an Uber. It was called Nick's Car. And he's coming into Masonic Week, and snow was everywhere. I mean, this is Minnesota, so I don't know why anybody would choose to fly through MSP. But anyway, he gets picked up, and I'm like, well, you want to go check out a lodge? And he says, sure. And he comes up to my car, and Barry is very humble about a lot of things. But he was coming in with 2 giant suitcases and holding on to his St. Thomas of Acon regalia, trying to fit it all in my tiny little Ford Taurus. And it was like, all right, we're going to make this work. And, it was the first time I ever met Barry, and I was like, this is a cool cat. So anyway, Royal Order of Scotland, it's it really is one of those opportunities that if you are given the opportunity in this craft, do it. I mean, don't blink, don't think about it, just do it, because it is a fantastic order. It's kind of split in 2. You've got the order itself, and then you've got this dinner afterwards, this banquet. And the people that you're meeting at this banquet are the top Masons where they are living. So you are meeting some of the top Masons in this country. It's not just, you're meeting the Barrys of the world, and then, these guys, and then the Barrys of the world. And you definitely need to go if you are invited. This is a fantastic body. It's a national body. It's got a national focus. It's fantastic. So if you have an opportunity, do it. If you don't, I will find you. And I'll make you do it. All right. So with that, that's me. MillennialFreemason.com.
Right. Good stuff. Good stuff. We have the whole crew. I think it's the first time we've actually had all 6 hosts of the Masonic Roundtable in one way, shape, or form in person, plus a bonus host. So, man, this has just been an awesome time. Thank you guys for expanding upon, a very esoteric order of what you can say, and really, going on for, a good 40 minutes or so about a lot of things that you can't talk about. But it was really enlightening to hear the history and to hear your perspective, and I appreciate it from a younger Mason perspective as well. So that's really cool. Yeah, this is really exciting. I am very fascinated with a lot of these Christian orders of Masonry, and especially ones with Rosy Cross is involved. And so I did receive an invite last year, but I had a lot going on. I was trying to step away from some of my commitments, and so the timing wasn't right. But one day I hope to join you guys. So keep an eye out for me.
I don't know. We'll think about it.
You're selective. I know.
Just like the Avengers are very selective in the number of characters that they put into Infinity Wars.
Oh my God.
We also are very selective in the people that we choose.
I'm sorry, Nick, you're breaking up. There's some issues with the Netflix streaming. I don't know. Oh, man.
And no, I will not do the Wakanda Forever salute because of the SNL skit. So, sorry, that's just out.
On that note, this has been awesome. Thank you very much for watching. See you next week, and keep searching for more light. Have a good night.